We got to do charge of murder. The old way is fucking over.
It can destroy a city. Yeah. Truly. We're seeing it now.
You don't get the right to say that bullshit, right? You weren't there. Your fat ass is never trained. I'll tap you to pressure right now.
Now to the investigation into a deadly police shooting in Michigan.
Drawing his firearm and shooting Lelia in the head.
And as a supervisor, you feel responsible. That's tough. Here we are at North Charleston Police Department doing a 2-hour workshop, weapons-based entanglements, takedowns, and team tactics. Got Scott St. Clair here, Dave Shire from Grand Rapids Police Department. We're here getting some work done, guys. This agency has fully implemented EFC. Such an honor to have Dave here, absolutely crushing the instructionals with these guys. We're really excited to move forward with North Charleston Police Department. They actually just had an article out about them actually exposing the public to their defensive tactics training. So we're really excited to actually show the public what we do and how we do it and how we're keeping the community safe. Yeah, no, I think that the suppressor game is a huge step in the right direction for law enforcement. I was talking to Brad about that, and it's something that should have been done years ago because it's a tool, but it's also, just like you said, it's a safety equipment. Mm-hmm. And you think long term, if you're on the range shooting within 25, 30-year career, that's a lot of rounds.
Yeah, and ear protections come so far too, right? I mean, we used to get like we'd go to an ENT and they would do like a foam insert, like a formed earplug. And they were good, but you're supposed to get those like every 6 months because your ear always changes. Well, we'd get those and have them for 3 years. And then every M4 day, you were like, oh, I'm kind of ringing here. And then, you'd shoot a dog on a search warrant, no ear pro on. We didn't have the comms back then. I mean, this was back in the day, so yeah, it's, and all of my range guys now, and we have much better ear protection for our instructors, but almost all of them have hearing aids now that,
I have
done, their majority of their time as a range instructor.
Sure. Yeah.
So
I mean, even with the ear pro on,
issue.
Yeah, I'm saying even if you double play, I always tell guys, hey, if you go on the range, just throw in a pair of foams plus the muffs, especially if you wear glasses of some type, you're gonna break that seal. But yeah, I think that it's really encouraging to hear that you guys are pushing for. I mean, Huxwork cans are pretty good quality cans. And you guys are also pushing
I guess we had some other ones. I think they were I forget the brand name. The dimension might be kicking in a little bit. But the flow throughs, obviously, like a lot of the SF units and stuff have had some cancer issues. Obviously, it's coming up now because of all the blowback. And, we're not shooting 40,000 rounds a person a year, but I mean, we're putting some rounds down range. Yeah, we just went to the Griffin booth at the Griffin armament booth at SHOT Show, and they had the HRT can, which is again 3D printed can, has that flow through capability to reduce all that blowback. But yeah, that was something we talked about, and again we always make fun of Scott because he's special handed, and so he gets all the blowback from that breach. Mm-hmm. And so it's really good to hear agencies yourself kind of being proactive with the tools that are available. And the thing is, it's just not. Let me ask you this: the budget. Where is that budget coming from to pay for that? Maybe kind of a conversation like Mitch was like, well, how did you get into the wellness center, right? A totally different topic. But I rely back to the Marine Corps days of like good initiative, poor judgment. Like take the initiative and you figure out a way, right? And it's all one pot of money. And maybe it's earmarked for something else. Yeah. But some of it's the state of Michigan money where we can use it for training. So I know hey, I've got 14 range rifles. Well, I need to replace those cans every 6 months or those uppers every 6 months. So that will cycle to the range. And it may take 2 years to do the whole fleet of cars. Sure. But, I love that. So yeah, just being intuitive and kind of having... Being proactive? Integrity, yeah. Integrity? I mean, not integrity, but initiative. Sure. And I think the humility piece, it's not about me or about the chief or whoever. It's about the guys and girls that are using the equipment every day. I think one thing we always talk about is just actually giving a shit, actually caring about the person itself and not just the job. And that's where I have a hard time with certain command staff, and I'm sure we'll definitely touch on this, about where they lose that. There's somewhere when you get up to a certain rank, I feel like you lose that it's a person. You know what I mean? And, and it becomes more of a number and or an object to complete whatever task you want done. And that's where I think a lot of guys get frustrated with the profession, and they either leave or worse, they do other things that can hurt themselves or others, you know? And so, thank you for coming to Charleston, South Carolina.
Man, I'm happy to be here.
So
glad it worked out.
Episode 2, Mr. Captain Dave Siver. I'm going to read this because he is such a lengthy CV that he sent me. So excuse the paper here. Captain Dave Siver, Grand Rapids Police Department, Michigan, over 2 decades in law enforcement, United States Marine Corps Military Police, Special Response Team, SRT, full-time tactical team operator and team leader, 3,000 hours of lead instructor in firearms, defensive tactics, less lethal, pursuit driving, and subject control, FTO, which stands for Field Training Officer, Sergeant, Lieutenant, and now Captain, Commander of Training and Engagement Division, now responsible for departmental use of force review and expert analysis. That is the very much cliff noted version of the 72-page CV that you sent me.
Chat GPT works wonders.
Chat, yeah, I was like, hey, look, can you make him look really cool for this podcast, please? No, Dave, you know, I think, obviously, were you born and raised in Michigan?
No, born in upstate New York.
New York?
Yep. Watertown, home of the 10th Mountain Division.
Okay. That's why you and Jay get along so well. It makes sense now.
Yeah, he's a quitter, though. I still live in the North.
He quit real quick.
Yeah, he did.
He was like, I'm retiring. I already sold my house and moved to Florida. I can't really blame him for the most part. I've only been in New York a handful of times, and it was...
Upstate, and I had a conversation with somebody at the airport yesterday. Like, they were like, upstate. Like, anybody that lives more than a half hour out of New York City calls it upstate. We're like half hour from the Canadian border up there, so it's truly upstate.
It's truly upstate. Yeah. So we only have so much time, obviously, here. So we're going to obviously talk about a specific incident that happened at Grand Rapids, and I want to discuss that in pretty good detail, and how you guys solved that problem, right? Because I think it's really easy, as we see in today's world, to just point a finger, say, that's a problem, and go, yeah, no shit, we know that. Do you have a solution? No? Okay, well then, thanks. Right. And so, what made you want to get, let's talk about just the Marine Corps. So how old are you when you went into the service?
I graduated high school and then went, enlisted right away at 18. So I knew I wanted to be a cop from the time I was probably, a little kid, like just knew it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just, like a lot of guys, high school was like sports and social aspect. I wasn't, the best student by any means. So weird, became a cop. But yeah, I had a plan. I didn't want to just enlist like an open contract where you can just go in and your recruiter tells you whatever. I had a really good recruiter that, took care of me. Like, hey, this is what you need to do. So for those that don't know, the Marine Corps doesn't guarantee your job. They guarantee like a field, and it could have 20 different jobs in it. So military police field, or like the 5800 field, could be corrections. There was a bunch of different things. I got lucky and got the military police thing. And so I knew it would kind of set me up. I worked out at a powerhouse gym in Clarkston, Michigan, and there was a bunch of Oakland County deputies there. I got to know them, and a couple of more Army vets. And they were like, yeah, that's a good route, man.
Sure.
So.
And how long were you in?
A little over 4 years. I was going to re-enlist. So I had a terminal leave package. When you're getting out of the military, you put your package in to get out, more or less. And I did a cross-year extension of, I think, a 3 or 6 month one, because there's only so many re-enlistment spots, and I had waffled for so long, right? So I did that. I had application at Charlotte PD in North Carolina.
Yeah.
It was pretty far into that process, and then we decided to move home. So
move home. Did you go to Paris Island?
I did. Yeah.
How was that?
Good. Yeah. I didn't realize at the time, but East Coast. So I grew up on the east side of Michigan after moving back, like when I was like 7 from New York.
Sure.
So those guys, like east of Lansing, which is the middle part of the state, they go to Paris Island. The West Coast kids go to San Diego.
Got it.
So
you leave the Marine Corps, honorably discharged.
Yes.
And then, of course, because you want to be a cop. And then you decided to get into law enforcement. And obviously you said you wanted to be a cop growing up. Was it one of those, I just like the cop vibe of driving fast, doing those kind of things? Or was it more of like, I have a sense of service, I want to actually help people? Like, what was, because I always ask that question. People are like, why'd you join law enforcement? And you'll get some of your typical answers. Oh, I want to help somebody. I always tell people I wasn't smart enough to be a doctor. So I went to law enforcement, but I always wanted to help people. And that was kind of my reason. And I truly believe that. And I think I still carry that mission today, even though I'm not in law enforcement anymore. So what was your reason?
Yeah, I would say it was something like that, like just a sense of service, I guess.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so my dad is the youngest of 15 kids.
Oh, wow. That's why you only did half, bro.
Yeah, I only did half. I was quitter.
Man.
But all of them, all the boys served in the military. So from War II.
That's awesome.
Through, my dad's the youngest, so of Vietnam. So that sense of service, I guess, was kind of there. Never pushed, like we never talked about the military. So yeah, I kind of knew growing up. So yeah, I don't really have like a aha moment, I guess.
Yes. Okay.
I guess I should say my cousin was a diver at Rochester PD in New York, and he died line of duty in 84, drowned. So I'm sure that had something to do with it, like the funeral and seeing all that. But
yeah, it's definitely, because my granddad was a cop in Connecticut. And I wouldn't say that I did it for him, but it was just like, it was cool to be like, hey, I was kind of carrying on the tradition in a sense. But yeah, no, I could definitely respect that. Now, you get into law enforcement, obviously Grand Rapids Police Department. Can you give the listeners a little bit about the demographic size and like your agency kind of overall? Yeah,
I actually started out, I put myself through the police academy, and I started out in a city called Saginaw in the middle part of the state, an old GM town, General Motors town.
Okay, yeah.
And that was the first job. A lot of fun. Man, it was a good time. 1999, so a long time ago. Yeah.
Oh, you are old.
Yeah, I was born in the 1900s, so that's where my hair went. I worked there for a little over a year and got laid off, which I didn't realize that happened to cops. I was pretty surprised because Saginaw's kind of a violent town.
Sure.
So I got laid off, and then there was 10 of us that got laid off all at the same day. 3 of us ended up over at Grand Rapids, and how that even happened, it wasn't even on my radar. I was looking to the Metro Detroit area, Dearborn, Southfield, those kind of agencies. I always wanted to work in a bigger agency, quote unquote. I didn't want to work in a small, 10-man department, 15-man department. Sure. Grand Rapids, there was a cop that left Saginaw and went to work at Grand Rapids. He came over when he heard about layoffs and dropped off a bunch of applications. Back then, we still do paper applications, which I know people listening don't know what that is, right? Cell phones weren't a thing.
That's weird.
Yeah, you had to hand jam a paper application. So 3 of us got hired on over there. So Grand Rapids is on the west side of Michigan, second largest city in the state, about 200,000 people, a little over. When I hired on in 2000, we were just about 400 cops.
Yeah.
And now currently we're trying to get back to a sustainable number, but we're about 300, 310.
It's pretty good. So how long on patrol?
I did 4 years, my first 4 years, and then I tested and made the SWAT team. And in Grand Rapids, it's a full-time assignment. Okay. Obviously, the guys don't just do full-time SWAT stuff. They do a lot of directed patrol,
sure,
specialty assignments, VIP, dignitary protection. But yeah, I tested and made it in August of 2004.
Okay. And then from patrol, what was the next?
I stayed on SRT for 11 years.
Okay. Wow.
2008, I joined the National Guard for a year. They had a Try One program, which they don't do anymore because the lieutenant I worked for was the company commander. So I knew who I was going to work for. So I did a little summer vacation to Iraq, Ramadi, Iraq, and then I came back, was still back on the team, and then I got promoted to sergeant in 2015.
Okay.
And I went to patrol for a couple years, came back to the team as a sergeant, and then got promoted to lieutenant off the team.
As a patrol sergeant, I would say it's probably one of the most important roles in a law enforcement agency because you are kind of in charge of, let's just say the troops for, say, your unit, your team, whatever you want to call it. And patrol makes the majority of law enforcement. I think people see the SWAT stuff on Instagram and it looks super cool, but that's such a small part of it. So as a sergeant and as a leader, how did you, when you first got promoted to sergeant, what was the first feeling you had of responsibility? What was the these guys are actually depending on me? Like, what was that mindset transitioning from full-time SRT guy now to a patrol sergeant? Because I always hear that transition from full-time SWAT to back to the road is kind of this is real police work. That's what we were talking to guys at SHOT Show, Ryan Johnson and Mason, Gun Fu Fighter, and Grim on Instagram. And those guys went from full-time SWAT dudes, really busy teams, to now being full-time patrol sergeants. They're like, this is SWAT, the full-time SWAT world wasn't real police work. This is real police work. So what was your experience from that transition?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. Yeah, because you go from a very narrow focus, if you will, like instead of being a jack of all trades, you have a very singular kind of specialty niche.
Sure.
To now you're A to Z again, and you I wouldn't say you forget, but you don't hear those calls day to day that all of a sudden you're like, oh my, what in the hell? Like, is this serious? And you see a call pull up on the board, and you're like, what in the? So yeah, at the time I had I was a night shift sergeant on the west side of the city, and I had a few guys that had a good amount of time on, similar amount of time as me. So they were the senior guys. They had, back then it was 15 years on. And then I had some younger guys, and I had a couple guys that lateraled in. I had a guy out of Chicago, a guy from down this way, Savannah area. We were hiring like crazy, and we still are. So yeah, it was a great opportunity. I had a couple of real young guys, just sit down with them and be like, hey, what do you want to do? Like, what, the senior guys, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to get promoted? Do you want to go to a specialty unit? And I would say, yeah, just mentoring them and then advocating for them, righteously so, not like, I'm going to take care of my boys, but
sure.
Advocating for them to get to where they wanted. And they all did get to somewhere, whatever that specialty niche was or promotions. So
I love that. Yeah. I think, I had a really good sergeant when I started, which was huge for me. He's actually still a friend. And then he left me, and then I got a not so great sergeant. And that was a huge determining factor in my career path. That's when I really decided to go the training route. I just needed to kind of get away because it wasn't good for me mentally. And that just goes to tell you how much of an impact a supervisor or a sergeant can make on, especially a young, impressionable officer who is active, who wants to get the job done, who wants to be proactive and kind of get into it. And if you kind of shut that down, we even talked about it offline about how you can force people out of this profession relatively easily, especially younger officers. So patrol sergeant, and then obviously you started going more into the training route. So what was that transition like? Yeah,
at one point I wanted to hit is you said like patrol, right? And I always say patrol is the backbone of any agency, and in the Marine Corps they always say the NCOs are the backbone of the Marine Corps.
Sure.
And I would say the patrol sergeants can make or break us, right? So I always preach that to the chiefs when we're making promotions. Like, I advocate for people that will step into that role immediately and have positive impact, because one incident going sideways could be national newsworthy, right? Yeah. And or if they're and not that people can't develop into that role, but sometimes we don't have the luxury to nurture that for a year.
Sure.
Know what I mean? So yeah, so I got promoted to lieutenant. Went to we call them watch commanders, shift commanders. Yep. But I had always been a trainer pretty early in my career. And even from the Marine Corps days, I got certified in, back then it was PR-24s, Monadnock products. They actually had a defensive tactics system back then too. And then some range instruction. So I was teaching in the Marine Corps days, a little gap when I first started in, the civilian career. And then, 2002, I think, 2002, got made a defensive tactics instructor again for GR, then a driving instructor, and then a firearms instructor. So I had some teaching experience.
Sure.
I jokingly say I resisted the field training officer title for a long time till the lieutenant at the time was like, yeah, nice try, dummy. You're in it. So, because the SWAT stuff at the time, if you had a recruit, it was like you were taken offline and had to answer calls. So none of us selfishly, right? Looking back, it was pretty selfish, but we wanted to be SWAT dudes,
Yeah, of course.
And back then too, we were doing, 200 plus warrants a year. Like, you didn't want to miss out on a Friday night with 3 warrants, so in fairness. So the training route, so I was a watch commander for 19 to 22, and on midnights there's 2 per shift. We work 12-hour shifts on patrol. So my partner, she hired on right about the same time I did, within a year or so. So she had worked the majority of her career on patrol, some detective time. So I got the nod. Actually, I didn't get promoted to captain until I had already been up there. So, what was it, January 22. The training unit spot came open. So that was a lieutenant spot at the time. I put in for it, got selected. And then, as captains or lieutenants, the openings come up and then you express interest, and there might be an interview, there might not be, because it's a much smaller pool. And then March of 22, Chief Winstrom came aboard from Chicago, and then April was our national newsworthy incident.
Yeah.
So part of the Chiefs reorganization in early 23, late 22 was to create the position I'm in now as a captain's position to house the training unit and then the community engagement unit. And those both were headed by lieutenants at the time. So I always say it's a transformer now. We came together like, Bumblebee or whatever.
Sure.
Community engagement unit houses all of our background investigations, our hiring, our recruiting, our cadet program, our explorer program, our youth sports, our prisoner reentry program. I mean, it's an A to Z list.
Right.
So they have a very wide spectrum of things. And then obviously our training unit, which houses, we're responsible for all our field training, our in-service training, the academy, like overseeing that. We don't have our own academy. They're regional up there.
Okay.
But, we still have to have oversight and purview of that. The instructor development, our certifications upcoming. So training unit stays very, very busy as well.
Yeah. Good.
So the last, 4 years since I've been doing that has been very administrative. Like it was nice today to teach a little bit. I don't get that opportunity a whole lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So for people listening, we actually had a 2-hour workshop, 2.5-hour workshop at North Charleston Police Department. It was Scott St. Clair came down. You guys know Scott, and myself, and it was great. We had multiple agencies, I think 7 or 8 agencies there. We even had one from Richland County, which was about 2 hours away. So it was great to do a quick weapons-based entanglements. We didn't actually go over weapon retention. It was more weapons-based entanglements, takedowns, team tactics, single officer apprehension. So yeah, that was great. And I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge there. You could tell everybody was attentive from I just call it like an administrative level, because you weren't necessarily talking about tactics. You're talking about the importance of good tactics and good control. So you're also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt.
Yep.
That's not something that just happens overnight. And you're also not a young man being a purple belt, which is also even more impressive. I don't think if you train jiu-jitsu and you're over the age of, let's just say 35, Dave's way older than that. It's way over. Being a purple belt is incredibly impressive, especially being a husband and a father, finding time to go train. So Dave's got 7 kids, and he's a full-time cop. He's also doing some extracurriculars, and he still makes time to train. 6 a.m., right?
Yes,
6 a.m.
sir.
And you also run your Grand Rapids Police Department grappling team.
Yeah, correct? Yeah, we got a grappling club. Some of the midnight guys help out quite a bit. During the days, I help out with the classes quite a bit, just as I can. But yeah, just to keep that kind of organically going.
I love that. And, obviously it's your passion, because you wouldn't be doing a grappling club, which is not necessarily something that an agency needs to have. They do need to have it, but it's one of the things where it's like, it's not something that they're going to implement on their own, and they don't understand the benefit for it. So, obviously you pushing that standard, obviously is incredibly important. I think that's a clear indication of what kind of leader you are, pushing that standard for your agency. And there's proof. Now you guys have developed objective proof over the course of, let's say, 3 years now, right? So, kind of getting into it, you guys had a critical incident a few years back that resulted in the suspect losing his life, and it was an officer-involved shooting. So can you go, and we're going to actually play the video for you guys, so if you're watching this on Spotify or YouTube, you'll be able to actually watch the video itself, but can you give us kind of a quick rundown of the incident itself before we watch it and kind of discuss?
April of 2022, had an officer-involved shooting over a Taser disarmament. Like you said, the suspect was killed. Excuse me. It resulted in the officer being charged with second-degree murder. We had some local level protests, a lot of national news coverage. As you can imagine, the narrative wasn't exactly accurate. But it was devastating as an agency, right? The chief had a month on board. And to his credit, he handled it better than, I don't know how many chiefs could have, right?
Sure.
He had coming from Chicago, he had the background and the wherewithal.
Oh, well, yeah.
And he grew up through the ranks, right? He wasn't just an administrative guy that kind of skirted the issue. He's got
a cop's cop.
Great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's actually an attorney too. So, fun fact.
Double win.
Super smart guy and handles it very well. So, credit to Chief Winstrom. He did a great job there. But yeah, obviously devastating to the agency, to the men and women that worked the street every day. We were down to about 250 cops at that time, so we were very low in manpower. Wow. And it was a byproduct of several things: our previous police chief, the George Floyd riots, COVID. I mean, you name it, everything was kind of a perfect storm at that time.
Sure.
So yeah, that was kind of the impetus of how Jay and you and I and everybody.
Yeah, and we'll discuss that whole integration of why you decided to go the route you did, because you've been very successful with that. Again, from an objective view, just from being able to collect that data and bring it forward has actually led to you being able to get more training and continuous training for your guys, which we know is what needs to happen. So if you're in law enforcement, you already know there's a gap between traditional defensive tactics and what actually happens on the street. And that gap is why we built Effective Fitness Combatives. EFC is a curriculum specifically built for policing. It utilizes the principle, concepts, and certain techniques from jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and striking, integrated with weapons into the environment of policing. It's structured training designed for real resistance, real stress, and real-world application. In 2025 alone, we worked with over 800 agencies and trained more than 3,500 officers. Our instructor cadre brings nearly 400 years of combined law enforcement experience. Now, these are high-level jiu-jitsu practitioners, wrestlers, mixed martial artists, and some are actually subject matter experts vetted at the local and federal levels. Both Level 1 and Level 2 are instructor-level certification courses, and both are post-approved or post-certified in most states. Level 1 establishes the foundational system and teaching structure, while the Level 2 builds on the foundation and moves into reality-based training, integrating simunitions, UTMs, box drills, and vehicle extractions so that instructors can confidently teach under pressure and complexity. We run courses all over the country. Courses are also available for private security and military personnel. We offer custom courses tailored to agencies' needs. We're also in the process of launching a dedicated SWAT combatives course built specifically for tactical teams. To see upcoming courses, check the 2026 calendar by visiting EFCombatives.com. Matt, if you can pull up the incident for me, please, sir.
Yeah, so people that are watching, this was spring break week, which, historically, I don't know about down in lovely South Carolina, the Palmetto State.
Can you make that full screen, Matt?
In Michigan, everybody wants to be on spring break. So we were low staffing. We had 14 or 15 cops working the street that day compared to 25 or 28 we have now. So super short staff too.
So this is just a YouTube clip from M Live.
Hey, stay in the car.
YouTube
Stay
page.
in the car. Stay in the car. Get in the car. Dude, I'm stopping you. Do you have a license? Do you have a license?
For what?
I'm stopping you. Do you have a license?
What that?
Do you have a driver's license? Do you speak English?
Yes.
Can I see your license?
What that you want?
The plate doesn't belong on this car. Do you have a license or no? Do you have a driver's license?
Yes.
Where is it at?
It's in the car.
Get it for me.
What that you want?
The plate does not belong on this car.
Amen. Grab me my right right there. Right there.
Now, who's in the car with him? Okay. You said this was like 8 o'clock in the morning?
No.
Oh, yeah. 8:12, 51.
Straight
Yeah.
in the Stop. 1915. You got one running. Northbound. Stop. Stop.
Okay. Dang.
Stop. Stop.
Okay.
Get your hands behind your back.
Okay.
Hands behind your back. your hands on your back.
At this point, he's been fighting for a minute. He's been fighting for at least 2 minutes right now.
More cars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Stop.
Okay.
He was outweighed.
Stop resisting.
Knee strikes. I can tell. Yep. Yeah, because the cardio taser was. There we go. Now we're fighting over taser.
Let go of the taser.
Yep.
What's the problem?
Let go of the taser.
At this time, we didn't have external carriers that almost all the cops wear now. We had the normal, so the body camera's mounted in the center on a magnet.
Sure.
It gets knocked off, and then actually the couple depressions it turned off. So now the new version of body cameras has a two-step deactivation.
Okay. Do we have the cell phone footage of the incident? I don't know if it's in that same video. We can maybe find that as well, because I think it shows the actual struggle itself from an outside view. Now, was it just the body cam and cell phone footage? Was there any dash cam available? I mean, because I know they ran off screen.
The dash cam does not show anything because they run off screen.
Right.
There's actually a ring camera from across the street.
Okay.
Pretty far away. So the cell phone camera is actually the best.
Okay.
The best option.
So obviously the trial ended in a mistrial.
Correct.
What a rough situation there. So I think, obviously understanding that size and here we go. No, that's a dash cam. What taser is that?
The 7.
7. Okay.
So yeah, we had two cartridges on board.
Right.
One was the kind of close probes, and the other's a little bit further standoff.
And that's where the shot takes place.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Single shot.
Now, you were in training at the time?
Correct. Yeah.
What was your initial assessment when you heard about the incident? Like, what was your initial?
I was actually on our range running mandatory training with our deputy chief at the time and another guy because we were so short.
Sure.
It was spring break week, so we were bare bones. Deputy chief says, "Hey, we just had an OAS, get to the building." Okay. So typically what we do is we have our men and women come up to the training unit. It's kind of it's on our 3rd floor of our police department. We have multiple offices, so it gives them a space to, meet with their attorneys, their union reps, and
Sure.
keep them separated. Give them a chance to relax. So we did that with Officer Sure. I didn't see the video I did not see it that day because the body camera stayed on scene. Michigan State Police, since 2015, investigate all of our officer-involved shootings. Sure. So if a body camera or taser is left unseen, they have to collect it and then dock it, all this stuff. And the cell phone video did not come out. But that week, meeting with, Chief Winstrom and a couple other captains and some other folks that were still in town, we started formulating a critical incident debriefing. And then, there was a lot of question, a lot of concern, obviously. I mean, it's a difficult video to watch.
It is.
But especially, and I think that's the secret sauce of grappling, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. In a 3-minute struggle, like how exhausted you are.
Oh, yeah.
Jay talked about it in the Born Primitive podcast, right? Like, endurance is, it's limited and it makes cowards
currency,
out of,
right?
Yeah, your currency, and it makes cowards out of any of us.
Sure.
So you can see, and if you watch the cell phone video, it takes Chris, the officer, Sure, about 5 to 10 seconds to call out on his radio after he delivers that shot. So you can tell he's exhausted. You can see that guttural breathing. It's April, it's cold, but if you notice in the beginning of the video, there's not any steam when he's
Sure.
breathing.
Yep.
At the end of it, it's deep guttural breathing. You can see the steam coming out of him.
Yeah.
I mean, he is physically exhausted. There's no more fight left in him.
And he's a stud. Like, just like you said,
Yeah.
he was a collegiate level athlete.
Yeah, great shape guy.
Yeah.
And during the trial, a lot of the questions that came at me from the prosecutors, I supervised him when I was a midnight watch commander. He did not have a history of excessive force or supplemental trainings for, deficiencies.
Sure.
He was a good officer, right? He did a good job. He's not a huge guy. That guy outweighed him, the suspect, by 30, 40 pounds. And you can see he's struggling. He's not controlling him by any means.
No. And gym strength, gym endurance, very different than hands-on grappling, any type of martial arts endurance. Because not only are you dealing with, because the physical weight itself, you can drop it. Right. You have to think here as well. So not only do you have the physical part of the confrontation, you also have the mental part. Is he reaching? What is he reaching for? Where am I at? What is the environment? Where are my hands? Am I in a good position? Do I need to create an angle here? So there's so many things that can run through one's brain. And that goes back to time on the mats, training, exposure, and knowing those routes to take that we obviously discuss. And I think one major talking point is obviously the Taser, right? Him deploying the Taser, close proximity, just like you said, the suspect was able to grab the leverage point and basically remove the Taser from the officer's hand. So as someone in training, you probably saw that as, well, that wasn't the best thing to do at that point in time to try to gain control of the situation. What was your initial thought? Again, now, were you already grappling at this point? Like, were you
Yes.
kind of, yes. Okay. So what was your initial thought when you saw the fight over the Taser?
We had done some drills over the years with close probe deployment kind of stuff.
Sure.
We have had a few attempt disarmings, nothing to this level. So it was shocking to see somebody that intoxicated as the driver was. He was like a .26 or 27, and that did not come out in the criminal trial. So clearly heavily intoxicated, had a criminal history that would, understand the whys of why is he fighting
Sure.
so hard. But yeah, it was shocking to see somebody grab a hold of the Taser and control it like that. Yeah, maybe not the best option, but you can see the officer sure had tried to work through, use of force decision making, right? Knee strikes, took him
Absolutely.
down. He worked through what he had been trained in, frankly.
Yeah. And so you can't, in theory, you can't blame him for that.
No,
Right. Because that's exactly what he was,
maybe he
stays.
keeps that Taser closer to him and he doesn't get the hands on it. But,
Sure.
Again, it wasn't like we had put him through a scenario like that.
Right. Yeah. And I think the reality-based training side is a huge push right now in law enforcement. At least it is on our end.
Totally.
We see the benefit there. And we talked about this. The first time you experience something like that or similar to that, you don't want that to be that, right? You want it to be in a place where you can yell tap or index, or even if you break a leg, you can call an ambulance, right? And they'll be there.
Yeah, and to that point, we had done a lot of reality-based training scenarios
Sure.
over the years. This is not, and I get asked a lot about that, like, you've changed so much. The only thing that I had an effect on was bringing EFC to the table. Our training was solid. I mean, from, firearms to driving, all that. Yeah, we can always improve, but our scenario-based stuff is good. The thing with EFC that is unmatchable, frankly, is the ability to pressure test and not injure people. Because like if or the people that listen to this, if you put somebody in a fist suit or red man suit and you fight, right, it's not practical. And right, we used to punch and kick people in handcuffs, frankly, right, or taser them into it. It's hard. You for safety reasons you have to limit that. But with at least EFC, you can pressure test pretty stinking well, and give people pathways of like, oh, I've been here before. I know where to go with this.
Yeah.
So, and we do what we call them hood drills. We've got like this mock shower thing where we lower it over them and then they got to fight, and we put them in it for about 90 seconds to give them a good experience of feeling exhausted like that, where maybe they're pinned to their back and they're getting all their gear stripped off them, or they're pinned face down. And we do, we hire a lot of guys that are good sized, big fellas, and we bring a couple of the young studs out that are grapplers and they take it to them.
Oh, I bet.
Right? As an ego check of like, oh, I don't know what I don't know.
And that's the main thing, is you're exposing those deficiencies through pressure tests. So they're feeling the failure, right? And I think that's where, at least when I came through the ranks, when I came through the academy, I went through my training, you were going to win, right? Like for the most part, you were designed to win the scenario, or the suspect was to give up. But the way that it was run wasn't realistic enough, right? Like it wasn't real pressure.
Yeah.
And just like you said, like the first time being stuck in side control, just from a jiu-jitsu perspective, is absolutely, it's miserable. It's a concrete blanket that you can't escape, can't breathe. You feel like you're pushing on nothing. You know what I mean? And it's a very degrading feeling, especially as a grown man. You know what I mean? And you're supposed to be, and I tell guys this, if you're a police, you're a professional. Again, I talk about my first time grappling, 16-year-old kid. I walk in, 27-year-old professional police officer. This kid whose mom drops him off, kid mauls me at his will. Like he was like, I think I want to work on this today. Right. And I'm fully trying to survive at this point. It was very eye-opening for me. I became immediately addicted at that point. So you talked about the integration, and we even talked about how easy it is to just point out a problem and say, hey, this situation sucked. Okay. And then they just kind of move on with daily life. Right. You guys took it to the next level. You found a solution, you brought it in, and now you have the data to back it up. And I love that, because there's no argument there, right? Because now it's just objective at this point. So what was your path, and why did you want to push so hard for this? Because obviously, I mean, you were the one that headed this up. Like this is huge. This is you. And like, what made you want to do that?
Yeah, I would say going back to the video, right, when you watch it through, both probes go, or both cartridges go.
Sure.
It's clear, reviewing that video, you know, even just through evidence.com, that software, not forensic evaluation software, that Officer Sure has no idea the second cartridge goes. It's kind of muffled. It's in the wet grass.
Right.
In my point, and I don't want to get sued for slander, there's an individual that resides in the state that was an expert witness that said that, I believe the exact wordage was, a drive stun to the eye would be nothing more than me being poked in the eye with a thumb. And I challenged that individual to any day of the week and twice on Sunday. There was a lot of other issues with this testimony, but
Sure.
A drive stun is still, and my argument is, a drive stun, you know, you sitting there fully capable is not probably going to be incapacitating. Watching Officer Sure, if he got drive stun there, he's got no capacity to fight that off.
Correct.
I firmly believe that.
Correct.
So that was a
agree.
big part of my analysis. As I understand what exhaustion feels. I've tapped the pressure, right? Like we all do.
Oh,
Still
yeah.
even, right? When your coach gets you
Yeah.
something bad's going to happen,
Sure.
right? So I understood that feeling of exhaustion, and I question and I challenge a lot of experts or, you know, internet cowboys. If you haven't been exhausted to that level, take weapons out of it. You feel like you're going to die underneath somebody's strong side control pressure. So add a taser into it, and now you could be disarmed, right? In the argument, well, he was just trying to get away. Maybe he was. He didn't have a right to disarm the officer, and he never complied. And then throw in the criminal history part, and then it starts to paint a much broader picture.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just wanted to hit on that the drive stun is still a devastating thing. I've been drive stunned 4 or 5 times in my instructor years, and it's like a blowtorch, a flat-out blowtorch to whatever part of your body. You want away from that thing at all costs. So I really pushed back on that narrative of, and the scientist that came in kind of looked like Bill Nye, super nice guy. He pointed to that. Like he's obviously a lot smarter than me and my
Sure.
involved in itself.
Sure.
But, to answer your question in a roundabout way, I'll never forget it. The protests were going on. I was on the second floor of our police department overlooking the street. It's a one-way street. The protests are out there. And I was on the phone with Jay for probably an hour talking to him about it. So watching that video, I immediately knew we hadn't given that kid options.
Yeah. And as a supervisor, did you feel responsible?
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're good. And that's huge, man, because what you did now, what you're doing now, is you're changing the standard. That's awesome.
Thanks.
You know, I think people sometimes kind of forget that cops are humans too, you know, especially in today's world. We see the viral videos, we see these things, we see the quick dopamine hits, we see the hate, we see the yelling. You know, you have 7 kids. I have 4 kids, right? Like I care about people, all people, not just cops. And I think it's important that we recognize that the good in this world can also be behind a badge.
Yeah.
And I think people need to just kind of remember that from a human perspective. And so I just want to say it's an honor to know you in the sense of you're a rare breed because you're one of the first ones that trusted us, trusted Jay, Scott, myself with what we do here at EFC. And the change that you've made in that agency has been, we brag about it, frankly. I mean, I tell guys, I'm like, if you're having any issues with your command staff not believing this works, I'm like, call Dave. Call Dave. Here's an objective. I have nothing to do with this. Here's an objective report he made that is saving lives. It's increasing officer safety, community safety, and suspect safety. What more do you want?
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess part of the, not only from the personal level of, you know, what Chris and his family have gone through.
I can't even imagine.
I mean, yeah, it's awful. And then his career's over and, you know, he could go to prison for life and all of that. And his civil trial is still coming out. And
sure,
we got depositions coming up and all that. But I guess a big part of the responsibility is I've been a trainer for 25 years. I sold the bullshit for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and then in fairness to all of us that did it, there really wasn't a system out there for like this, you know, unless you were doing jiu-jitsu or you wrestled, there wasn't a package. And in fairness to Jay, obviously had some stuff going, and there were some other national trainers. Sure. But again, I take that responsibility very serious. I was in the corner office, and it's my responsibility. Right. So, yeah, talking to Jay, that was mid-April.
Right.
Chris didn't get charged till I think June. It took a couple months. But yeah, talked to Jay, talked to a couple other trainers around the country. Some super helpful, some money grabbers.
They exist.
Yep. I won't name them for fear of slander and to bring you guys into a lawsuit.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, we know the one guy. He's a good guy out west. But yeah, Jay was like, hey, man, let's get this together. So June of 22, came and did a 2-day custom course for us, kind of an intro.
Yeah.
You know, again, I was trained in jiu-jitsu, but I'm not an operational guy. Like I run the 4th of July fireworks after party or after show. I run New Year's Eve. Like I'm an office nerd now. Like I'm not a street cop.
Sure.
So I wanted to get some of the meat eaters in the room, right? A mixture of my trainers, some SWAT folks, some other dudes that rolled. And we had some state police guys come in.
Love that.
Some other local guys and gals come in. And yeah, it was immediately like, yep, this is replicatable. You know, and we talk about, you know, obviously we've got superstars in every organization, and then we've got not so superstars, right?
Of course.
The lowest common denominators, we talk to them. But I firmly believe that we could replicate that to the lowest performer, right? It wasn't it wasn't going to take 25 hours a year of training. I knew if I could get 4 to 6 hours, we could replicate that and get success.
Yeah. And I think your level of experience on the mats, accompanied by your experience on the street, I think you have your own confirmation.
Yeah.
Right. And I think people who have trained jiu-jitsu, if you train jiu-jitsu for any length of time, you know what works and doesn't work. I mean, you're a purple belt, you know what works and doesn't work at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can visually look at something and go, your base is off, you're going to be off balance, your angle's not great. Like you're going to start to notice those things at that level. And, you know, Jay is a phenomenal instructor. And I'm not saying that because, you know, I work with Jay and he's my business partner as well, but he's also my friend. Jay is a phenomenal instructor. He has a way of simplifying techniques, curriculums, routes to where it is digestible to that lowest common denominator, or to that uncoordinated, untrained officer. You know, we saw it today, right? There were some individuals in there. You're like, hey, this dude probably has never ran a mile in his entire life. Has never played any sports, right? And that's, again, Scott and I talked about this, about that's the cop you're getting.
100%.
So it's what we got. Yeah, you can bitch all day, but it's what we got. And so bringing in Jay, doing the 2-day custom class. Now that was a weapons-based entanglements course.
Yeah, we did a mix. I would say it was like your level 1 cut in half. So
Got
just
it.
maybe
Okay.
not as reps, but yeah, we touched on broad strokes, kind of, like today, like we did, but maybe, it was 2 full days.
Sure.
And it was to a man and woman that went through it was like, oh, hell yeah, this is it. We need this. So yeah, that was June. And then we started getting instructor classes. We didn't host one that year, but we started, like the state police hosted some. I got, I think 10 or 12 instructors through that.
Sure.
Other local ones. So yeah, within about 8 months, I had, I think 20 instructors trained up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I purposely didn't go through it because I said, I want the organic growth and buy-in from the troops, right? I can sell it, right?
Sure.
But I don't want that. I don't want it being top driven down. I wanted the troops to experience it, get wins. And we implemented it in kind of segments. The SRT, the mighty SWAT men and women, and a patrol team took it and immediately had wins. Immediately had success.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about the curriculum is it's pretty turnkey. And I always tell guys this when I'm teaching these workshops, like these smaller workshops I do here and there. I want you to leave here. Once you walk out that door, I want you to be able to use this immediately. And that's obviously the goal because that's how you're going to get that result that you're looking for, right? If you care about being capable physically, mentally, then this is for you. A lot of people don't actually need more motivation, they need structure. That's why we built Effective Fitness Training. It's a structured strength conditioning program, not random workouts, not trend-based programming, not chasing aesthetics. It's progressive training built around strength, durability, conditioning, and longevity. Every phase has intent. Every lift has a purpose. We focus on building real-world capacity, the kind that carries over into your job, your life, into the stuff that actually matters. You get clear programming with built-in progression and conditioning that supports strength instead of interfering with it. Mobility so that you stay durable, recovery guidance, and coaching so you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. It's simple, it's structured, and it works if you work. If you want one program that covers everything, strength, speed, endurance, bodybuilding, mobility, recovery, nutrition guidance, and coaching, go to effective.fitness/stay ready. We'll take care of the programming, you show up and train. So once you started implementing more training, you started bringing in EFC, you started seeing the results. I'm assuming the morale of the agency was maybe a little damaged, a little low, officers walking on eggshells, being very careful what they say. When did that morale start to kind of turn the other way? Because I'm assuming it did because they started seeing, hey, this is what we've needed.
Yeah. In fairness, the chief changed our use of force policy, added some language, truly did not add or restrict the men and women, added some language, right? Some that he probably knew he needed to for political reasons. And there was concern that the Department of Justice might step in.
Okay.
So there was, or the Attorney General's office, state of Michigan. So there was a lot of,
Sure.
Behind closed doors that I don't think the rank and file probably know about. So yeah, he changed that. I think that was right around the first of the year of 23, and we went live department wide January 23. So January, February is always our big use of force research. Yeah, where we do top to bottom, and it's usually a 2 to 4 hour block. That year we did a 4 hour block, and like I said, we train well. We have between 10 to 12 mandatory training cycles a year in service training.
That's huge.
Yeah, and it's not Dave Siver did this, like guys like Dan Lind, and they've established that for 20 years. Like that's not we've turned the dial up some, right, and started doing some off duty, or hey, we're going to pay you 4 to 6 hours overtime to come in and do this big block. But yeah, we started live January of 23, the whole agency. And the morale question, I really just always point back to Chief Lindstrom. That dude shows up on homicides. He'll show up at a traffic stop. He shows up. The guy probably works 90-hour weeks.
He's the real one.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge. He's hands down best chief worked for in 27 years.
Starts at the top.
Yeah.
It's not it's not rocket science
Yeah.
as to why the agency is doing as well as it is. Yeah. Now, let's talk shit about command staff. So
Yeah, and
here
fairness,
we go.
Yeah, and to Chief's credit, he gave me the leeway to run with it. Right, I was a lieutenant.
That's huge.
I was a lieutenant at the time, so
Yeah.
all the captains could have told me to pound sand. The deputy chiefs, right, and everybody there was different camps, man. That was
my next question.
There was some hard feelings, right?
Yeah.
There was some pointed conversations, and I always said, like, you don't get the right to say that bullshit. Like, you want to say it in our closed office door, but you don't go around saying that shit in the hallway. Like,
Yeah,
that's
100%.
bullshit, right? You weren't there. Your fat ass is never trained,
Yeah.
right?
Hell yeah.
I'll tap you to pressure right now, right? Like, it's
Pull up.
bullshit.
I love it, dude.
So Chief Winstrom, I mean, he gave me, hey, make it happen. Like, so to his credit,
And that's huge because I can, in my brain, I can picture the bureaucracy from lieutenant all the way to chief and everything in between, and him kind of giving you the green light. And it's like, well, what about blah, blah, blah? And I could see it now. I could hear the cholesterol gargling, as I call it. Cause it's like, well, look, I'm here to make a change. And if you don't want to do that, then just move out of my way. Right.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And you're going to piss people off. People aren't going to like you. Oh, well, you know what I mean? Cause you're a mission driven dude. And that's incredibly important. So having a chief that cares, I mean, I'm sure Scott's had chiefs. I've had supervisors, and it can destroy, and it can destroy a city.
Yeah.
Truly. We're seeing it now.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, Chief Winstrom before he came aboard, the previous chief was like,
Yeah, exactly.
about sunk the Titanic.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
Yeah. It, and I don't want to shit mouth, all the captains, but there was definitely some heartache when we showed it to the command staff the first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they definitely like you can lateral head displacement,
Too aggressive.
head pressure, and my argument was like, we got to do charge of murder. The old way is fucking over.
Yeah. See, and that obviously comes from lack of education, knowledge, and experience. Well, it's because you just don't know enough. It's not because it doesn't work.
Right. It's a change.
Right. It's a change, and it's new, and of course, law enforcement by nature, especially as you go up in the ranks, at least my experience was changing anything was work. Mm-hmm. And by nature, people are lazy. Right. And so having to do the work to make change takes more work than you think it does. And so, especially when it comes to grappling, people who don't truly know how to apply proper pressure, and then the science behind it, and then the application and success behind it, and then even from a legal standpoint, where it stands. And that's why I find it interesting when people try to argue. Again, we can have conversation. Absolutely, we can have beneficial, hard, or even heated conversations, as long as they're respectful and there's an end goal in mind. We have over 500 years of law enforcement experience at EFC. I'm not here to, toot our own horn or anything. We even talked about this. Majority high-level black belts, a few brown belts, and a few purple belt adjunct instructors. They've experienced a lot within their law enforcement career. So some of them even have some supervisor experience. So it's really interesting for people to kind of give that pushback to you, knowing all the experience you have, even though it was just your experience, it's still an experience you had, and then still saying, well, I don't like this, it doesn't work. Okay, well, then what's another solution? And we talked about this. It's easy to point the finger and say that's a problem. It's much harder to develop a solution, and that solution actually work. And so I'm assuming, we talked about the officer standpoint from like the officer morale. I'm assuming you guys had to rebuild that trust with the community as well.
Correct. Yeah.
And so is there anything you guys did in particular to start to kind of build that trust back with the community?
Yeah. To go back to kind of your point about change. I remember Kevin Gilmartin. He's a doctor. He's I think retired Phoenix, somewhere out in Arizona. I don't think he speaks much now. He's probably about 80, but he wrote a book like career survival kind of thing about the ups and downs, and you see death, and then you're on your day off. You don't want to do anything, like the peaks and ups and downs. But he starts off this whole presentation, and he's like, how many people want to be here, and all this, and he's like, tells a story about like how cops, bitch about anything. And he tells about like somewhere out east and they change like the overtime slip color and everybody's like, oh, this is fucking bullshit. They're trying to fuck us, So I've always kept it in the back of mind of like that, like any change cops are like, oh, this is bullshit, so I always take that a little bit.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'm like, hey, we got a guy charged with murder. Like clearly what we were doing is not going to work. And I'm like, take the taser out of it. And most cops that train know. I mean, a fact of it is more cops don't die because people don't want to kill them. And that's a hard truth. Like you can't over prepare for a job that can kill you.
100%.
So, I mean, if we want to be honest about it, right? And like today, like you're talking about, like there was some folks that were clearly out of shape, but we don't know, like their kid got cancer. They've had a divorce, but they're there training. And I give people kudos to that. Like you could be total dog shit in the training room.
Yeah.
If you're putting effort in, man, you get my respect.
100%. Think about this too. Everybody there, except for the cadets, they were there on their own time and their own dime.
Yeah.
And there was how many people?
32,
30 something. Yeah. Yeah. A lot in that small room.
Yeah.
And that was just a 1-story post on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was huge, huge turnaround. So yeah. So about the community trust, like, so what was y'all's main objective there? If you had to pick one direction you guys were trying to go in, was it more of just, here's our accountability, this is more transparency? Like what was the approach there?
Yeah, I mean, that's there, right? And we see it now, like the body camera gets released and it's,
super
you
fast.
altered it or you did this or,
right.
But yeah, again, Chief Winstrom, I can't promote him enough, man, as much as we want him to stay. He met with every community group. He did all these things. But the other thing we do on a regular basis is community stakeholder use of force exposure.
Okay.
So, we have a civilian appeals board. We have a newly created Office of Public Oversight and Accountability, which is a city department that oversees fire and police for misconduct and internal affairs investigations. And then we have a lot of like neighborhood groups, right? Funded and unfunded. So we'll host these trainings and we'll give them a few scenarios. We go through the, a kind of overview of EFC. We do some virtual reality with them and we just explain how we train. And then we did a lot of news coverage of our training, our grappling club stuff, our training blocks to show, right? The narrative is safer outcomes, safer outcomes, safer outcomes. Well, within that first year, we avoided 4 officer-involved shootings through the implementation of EFC.
That's huge.
So, I mean, I'm like, you can't argue the success of it. That's 4 people that potentially would be dead and officers' careers could be ruined because of a program we instituted for pennies on the dollar. I mean, truly.
No, right.
And for $20,000, $25,000 to get instructors there, maybe 40 with travel or whatever.
Yeah.
And then some overtime to pay people. Like, what's a human life worth? What's an officer's career worth? And the community trust.
Sure. What drove you to start collecting the data?
We've always done use of force reporting.
Okay. Well, of course.
It's been pretty, and it was pretty detailed, right? We would break down how many punches, how many kicks, how many strikes, how many dog bites, shots, everything.
Right.
Tackles. Well, we just added, once we added EFC components, a lot of the prosecutors and attorneys and judges were like, what the hell is a staple? Like, what are you stapling them with a gun? And I'm like, oh, hell, like the terminology. So we changed some of the terminologies to fit. And then we changed the use of force reporting because then I also wanted to see, so historically, if I held your arm down, that wasn't a use of force, right? I tackled you. Okay. I put a joint lock on you. I punched you. That was, but holding somebody's arm or head down was not historically a use of force report. So we added that component. So our number of use of force reports skyrocketed.
Right. We
went from 500 to 600 to 900. But then I could comb through the data and say, well, in that first year, I think we had 70% in that range, 67, 72, somewhere in there. Percent of EFC component was utilized in a use of force incident. And the other thing for people listening is say it's yourself, me, and Scott. Matt's out of hand like he always is, and we gotta handle business. All crazy. 3 of us are gonna write a use report. Yeah, he's a problem.
He's insane.
Agree with that.
Matt, please calm down right now.
All 3 of us have to write a use force report.
Sure.
So there's 3 reports for one incident.
Got it.
So some of the times I was getting 6 use force reports for one incident. You did head control, I stapled a leg, Scott did this. So there's 3.
Got it.
So our number of use of force incidents didn't really go up a whole lot. We're in the national average of, of physical arrests between 8 to 10% result in a physical use of force.
Okay.
We're right in that 8 to 10% every year.
And now, were you able to then take that data, utilize it, obviously present it, and then were you able to utilize that at city council meetings, being able to go to say, hey, look, our training is working. Here's the objective proof. This is post EFC. I need more money for training. I want to build a bigger mat room. I want to get my guys more training. I want to give them an opportunity to start a grappling club. Was that also kind of the growth pattern there as well?
Yeah, again, I mean, I feel like a broken record, but Chief Winstrom was like, make it happen. Like anything I went to him with, it's like, do it. And to give them data points. So we have a public safety commission that is some of the city commission. We're a city manager style government, and we have a mayor and a city commission. And then a public safety commission that's a reduced number of commissioners and appointees. So they have monthly topics. So the chief was able to present to them. Sure. And we did some news coverage about, the program. And then like a lot of places, right, our excessive force complaints went down. Or it was the chief could easily show a video, like the incident where we had 2 armed individuals in a car that 100% would have resulted in a officer involved shooting of both of them. The passenger ended up with a little bit of a cut eyebrow from some hammer strikes because he was in a snowbank and we couldn't quite pin him right as he's trying to access a firearm.
Sure.
The chief was able to bring in some community members and I can't remember if it was the Urban League or NAACP president, show them the video and they were like, oh, thank you. Because they got told, we beat these kids and he's bloodied and, all these things, and shows the body cam and the in-car video. And that video's online of the driver all the time. And it shows that sergeant on midnights as one of our instructors, helps run the grappling club, does a great job, as a supervisor on night shift. He quarterbacks that whole incident. So the buy-in of the troops and the instructors is also pivotal, right? Because Dave Siver can go to lineup and I go to trainings and I can run my mouth. But again, you got to get the buy-in from the troops or it's just it's just a waste of time talking point.
It's just a waste of time. Now, obviously a lot of that buy-in occurs at in-service training, right? And that's where I feel like you will lose everybody. Oh, I got to take that phone call. I got to send a text message. I'm going to take a, 2-hour shit, whatever. How did you start to integrate this into in-service to where you started seeing the results? Kind of, I like to say the hockey stick approach, where it was, hey, we were kind of getting a minimal response, minimal effect, and all of a sudden we started changing and implementing, and then we saw it kind of sort of skyrocket up. So what was your approach to in-service training starting EFC?
So that first year, 23, we did a big block at the beginning of the year. We hit it, I think, 3 times that year. The dementia's kicking in again.
It's okay. CTE's a real thing, bro.
The hair. Yeah, that's what it was.
Learn to break fall better, Dave.
Too many chokes. I think we had 6 to 8 hours of EFC that year.
Okay.
As the first year rollout.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And we got a lot of buy-in, right? And we're a young agency. And some, there's always going to be pushback to some of the older heads. And I'm like, hey, man, you work in the detective unit. Like, okay, I get it. You think this is stupid. Whatever. You're going to pick them up and dump them on their head. Yeah, that's fine. And I'm not going to defend you in your trial. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
Like, you clearly have seen, I'll defend it if it's righteous.
Sure, 100%.
I'll put my neck out all day long.
Yeah, right
but
on.
if you're an idiot, you're on your own. So we still have a little bit of pushback. But another area like today, those pre-cadets, all the regional academies around us are using EFC. So they come back from the police academy with a very good working knowledge. And then we do an 8-week in-house for all of our hires, whether you come to us from South Carolina with 7 years or you come right out of the academy. So we get everybody together at, 3 or 4 times a year, a group of recruits, and we put them back through the whole system. So at the end of the 8 weeks, they're hitting field training with a pretty good working knowledge of EFC. Like
that's huge.
And we started seeing that earlier on before the whole agency had to work through. Like these young men and women are coming into field training and they're immediately going to leg control, and the FTO's like, what the hell? And they're handling business.
Dude, imagine having that starting law enforcement.
I know.
I think about it. So we do that free law enforcement class every Wednesday at Folly with Jeff. And so North Charleston, they send their cadets every Wednesday at 10:30. Like they are told to be there during their work day. So they come every Wednesday at 10:30. Now the academy, the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy, they've hosted EFC 3 times, 2 level one's in a level 2, Scott. Is that right? Sound about right? Yep. I'm getting a thumbs up from Scott. And I'm getting calls from them saying, hey, these North Charleston guys are coming here and they basically are actually showing us some of the newer stuff you guys are putting out. And I'm like, yeah, it's because they're so involved with saying their cadets are like, hey, they get 1 hour of DT a week before the academy. And then after the academy, I mean, you saw the training. It's like they are all about that DT life. And we just talked to their training lieutenant.
Yeah.
He said after only 300 days of EFC, since they've been in the program, 50% use of force complaints have gone down.
Reduction in excessive force complaints.
That's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
That's
and
massive.
like they had been doing a kind of like a community stakeholder event,
Yes.
you know, where they're explaining the why, right?
100%.
Why do body cameras do this and what's the limitations to them, right? Everybody expects it to be like this 3D drone and it's going to capture everything. No, it's a fisheye lens that has limitations, right? It's
And it falls off.
Yeah. I mean, and it doesn't catch everything, right? So
100%.
having that, and I would say again, people are probably tired of hearing me mention this guy, but Chief Winstrom, explaining that why in press conferences and, you know, really, really having and our media relationship has changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
To where we didn't want to talk to him before and now we openly talk to him about things.
You know, I think it is kind of motivating to see agencies kind of create that change. Again, I was born and raised in Charleston, so to see North Charleston kind of start to integrate this and see the success they're having in even being able to hit some of these younger officers, like again, like you met Britton today, he gets after it.
Yeah.
Right. He gets after it. The dude trains. He's like, I don't know if I can come out to dinner. I got to hit the MMA class.
3 hours of,
or like, hey man, I'm going to buy you a steak. He's like,
yeah,
hit me up after and see if I can make it on time. But like, you know, he's someone that I encourage his higher ups to allow him to train more to, again, in order to get the results you want, it's going to take a little bit of effort from the command staff. And at least a lot of the no's that I've gotten were either for two reasons. One, lack of knowledge or understanding and not really the want to understand why I'm asking for something, or two, it wasn't their idea.
Right. Yeah. And that the humility piece, right? Jocko
Right.
talks about that all the time. Yeah, that's a killer, man.
It is. It's a huge killer. I mean,
a killer.
It'll crush the soul of a young officer.
Yeah. And I wish like more people could have that leadership primer, the Marine Corps of leadership by example, right? Like if I'm not in shape, how am I going to expect these young men and women to stay in shape? And we slow down, right? I lost my hair a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't have flowing locks like you.
We can't all.
But I don't have to wear a hat all the time too. So it's a trade-off. But I get a sunburn in the winter, in the summertime.
I bet.
So I do have to wear a hat then.
I bet your sunscreen bill's higher than mine.
Yeah.
Dave, thank you. But before we kind of wrap it up, I have a question to ask you.
Yeah.
So I try to ask kind of a different question to kind of every guest, and I thought this one was really good for you. So what is one standard you refuse to compromise? And now it doesn't just have to be in law enforcement or training. It can just be in life as a husband and a father, as a man. What is one standard you will never compromise? Take your time. We have all day.
That's a really good question.
I know.
I would say for a work-related thing, I had a boss named Dan Savage that was the lieutenant of the SWAT team, huge human being, like a larger-than-life personality. And then he ended up retiring as a deputy chief. Great dude. He always told us, leave it better than you found it, right? Mm-hmm. So for an agency aspect, that's been my goal for the last probably 10 years, right? It took a while to stick. I pushed his buttons for a lot of years. Probably should have been kicked off the SWAT team a few times. But yeah, Savo had a lot of patience, and he always, and it was always something simple like, hey, fellas, leave it better than you found it at the range, or we were visiting a shoot house or something. Sure. But it really has stuck with me in the last several years for the agency of like, hey, it's never been about me. I've never been the greatest cop by any means, never pretend to be, but where can you have that indelible mark, right? So putting the agency in a better spot than the day I showed up.
Love that. That's
been the goal, as I walk out the door here soon. Yeah, I guess from a family perspective, being authentic, man, like not, like you make mistakes, own them, right? I guess a big thing is all of our kids live by us still, right? So probably bigger credit to my wife because I'm an idiot. So
Probably.
yeah. So, I mean, where a lot of people, and not a fault of the parents, but kids want to run away, right? And go do things. Our kids still all live close. So all of our grandkids are here. So
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
You're a good dad.
So thanks, brother.
Cool, man. Dave, thanks, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Until next time, my dude.
Yeah.